We're shifting gears now to our nation's capital, where two very well-known Maritimers are standing by. We're joined now by St. John Progressive Conservative Member of Parliament Elsie Wayne, on the left for a change, and Alexa McDonough of Halifax, the federal leader of the New Democratic Party. Elsie Wayne, I'd like to begin with you. What's in this budget for the Maritimes, and are you happy with it?
Well, first and foremost, I'm having a hard time to hear you there, Steve, but anyway, I have to tell you that, look, my first glance at it is that I would have to say that it is a budget that comes down where it shows that the economy is flat. It was flat last year, it's flat this year, and their projections for next year are flat as well. I'm going to say this, that those transfer payment cuts that are in there, Steve, are going to hit Nova Scotia extremely hard. They're going to hit Newfoundland extremely hard. It rather looks like maybe New Brunswick will stay even, but when it comes to you fellas and the rest of us, there are other things that are going to hit us extremely hard as well. But when it comes to the child support payments, we are pleased to see that the wives will not have to pay taxes on that. But the way that they've got it set up, Steve, it means that the government's going to make about $200 million on this kind of a project that they have. The UI, there is absolutely nothing there for jobs, and if you are a 50-year-old blue-collar worker,
yes,
look out, because there's nothing there for you, Steve, whatsoever.
I want to move along to Mrs. McDonough. You and Mrs. Wayne are normally on opposite ends of the political spectrum. Do you find much to agree with in what she says tonight, Ms. McDonough?
I'm sorry, haven't been able to hear your question, but I'm hearing you now.
Understandably, it's noisy there in the foyer. I was asking if you find much to agree with in what Elsie Wayne says tonight by way of criticism of today's budget.
You know, what Canadians most needed, and Atlantic Canadians especially most needed, was for this government to tackle the jobs crisis head on. There's absolutely nothing in here to indicate that they're going to do so, despite their talk. We also desperately needed for them to deal with the ticking time bomb in the massive cuts to the social and health programs over the next 2 years. They didn't even have the honesty or the decency to acknowledge that this is what's about to happen over the next couple of years, resulting not only in massive erosion of services, but also massive further job cuts. So instead of creating jobs, we're going to see a couple of 100,000 more jobs wiped out, and nowhere more so than in the have-not provinces. So I think the Liberal dream is clearly Canadians' worst nightmare. They come in now and say, well, in year 3 we're going to put a floor below which we're not going to let the cash transfers sink, but by then they will have blown off the roof and torn down the walls. So there's little comfort there for Canadians anywhere, especially Atlantic.
Are you suggesting that no floor is better than this floor?
Oh, absolutely. Having a floor is better than nothing. But most people don't find it very comfortable to live with no roof and no walls, and so a floor at the end of 3 years just isn't going to do it for us.
I have to say, Stevie, they do not understand the maritime provinces. That's very obvious when you sit here in the House of Commons, and this budget proves that they're just sleepwalking through the economy. They haven't got a plan. There's absolutely no plan there whatsoever. We all know we have a debt and a deficit problem, but I have to tell you, you don't take from the have-not provinces and then say to the have provinces, well, we're going to hit those guys again in the maritime provinces a little bit harder. You just don't do it, Steve, but they did it this time.
Elsie Wayne and Alexa McDonough, thanks very much. I realize it's noisy there. We appreciate your sticking with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve.